This is the FitRoots podcast, and I'm your host, Aidan Lee. We are focused on teaching you the best of philosophy, martial arts, health, well-being, and business. Our mission is to build modern warriors who enhance their lives through continual physical and mental evolution, and then bestow that gift onto the next generation. Today, we've got Liam Britton joining us. Liam is an ex-fitness studio owner based in West Sussex, UK. He's a big Arsenal fan, animal lover, and enjoys spending time on the farm where he lives. He's now the program director for The Powerful Man, which helps male business owners find more happiness, joy, and fulfillment in their lives. A turning point in his life was losing his dad to a motorcycle accident in 2008 at just 21 years old. But after a profound and powerful 20-minute conversation whilst on a trip in Canada in 2015, his life took a whole new direction. Liam has taken two businesses to six figures in under 12 months, traveled the world as a platinum partner with Tony Robbins, and has helped multiple fitness professionals build highly profitable businesses that work on their terms. Welcome to the FitRoots podcast, Liam.
Hey, Aidan, how you doing?
I'm very well, buddy. How are you?
Yes, I'm very, very well. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today and talking to your listeners.
Awesome. And thanks for coming, mate. Really is a pleasure to have you on board today. And I'm really interested to hear about your new venture in particular, but also how you got to where you are. So, Liam, why don't you start off by telling us a bit, we've heard your bio, but also a bit about what you're working on now and kind of how you got to where you are now as well.
Okay, cool. So right now I am working for a company called The Powerful Man, which is based in the UK. And what we do is we help business owners, male business owners who are, for example, doing very well in business, making money, doing okay, but they still feel unfulfilled, empty, a bit lost. Relationships are lacking, and they're not quite sure what to do to kind of fill that gap, if that makes sense. So, that's what I'm doing right now, working with The Powerful Man to kind of help those guys, if that makes sense.
Awesome. That's cool. And how did you make that transition to that? Because obviously you came from either one industry and then to another, but also there is a lot of cross correlation in terms of your expertise. And how did that happen, and how are you applying those skills you had now?
Yeah, so my background is fitness industry. So I am an ex fitness studio owner, ex personal trainer, and this is something that the kind of person or man that I just described is something that I personally struggled with myself. For a long time in my 20s, I worked very hard, had my head down, thinking that once I made the money and once I had the business and once I had the house and the car and the holidays and all that kind of stuff, that my life would be great, and I managed to create all those things, a very successful financial business. And, I got there and it was worse for me. I was more empty. I was more unfulfilled. And I've been on a journey probably since 2015 of really understanding, okay, it's not just about success, and finding out, okay, what does make me happy? What does make me fulfilled? What is it that I can choose to deal with from my past that is affecting my current reality, my future, my present, if that makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So I guess with all of that experience, Liam, are you effectively saying that you're now using that experience to help those who may be in similar positions, especially fellow business owners who may be fulfilled in one sense, but maybe not so much in another?
Yeah, absolutely. This because I feel like we can only really draw from our own experiences, and I've managed to get myself in a much better position, kind of mentally and emotionally, through having doing endless work on myself and working with different coaches, and kind of exploring myself, starting from the inside. That I'm then able to kind of see it in other men. And help them on their journey. So yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So before you, obviously this is specific to men, the powerful men, were you working specifically with men beforehand as well in the fitness industry?
No, actually the funny thing was I actually tended to work with women. Like my fitness studio was probably 95% women. I as a PT found it easier to connect with women. I think it's potentially because I grew up in a household with women. Like, I've got 2 sisters and my mum. So I think I just found it easier. So complete change, really.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh, that's really good. That's really interesting. So do you feel like things are going in the right direction for you now? And if so, if not, I guess also what inspired that change and made you feel like this is the right direction to go in?
Yeah, so there's a story I tell which is also always very powerful, and always a lot of business owners can relate to kind of what's happened in my life, because there was one big thing that really happened which changed a lot for me. So I'll give you the story now. So basically, when I was growing up through my kind of teenage years, and kind of very early 20s, and going through school, I was always just doing enough, right? I was always, just getting, very average, C grade GCSEs, just doing enough to get by. I had a job, I'd always be clock watching, just want to go home, earn my money and go home, right? And I was kind of in that kind of routine of just doing enough to get by, right? But then something happened that really changed my life and my family's life. And this is, I'm just going to say it because yeah. So basically, I lost my dad to a motorcycle accident in 2008, right? So as you can imagine, it was a massive shock to me and my family. It hit us like a ton of bricks, one day your dad's there and one day your dad's not, right? My mum and dad split up when I was 12, and I'll be honest with you, like, my relationship with my dad wasn't very good near the end of his life. So in my teenage years and early 20s, I hardly saw my dad, right? Because of, I'll quickly talk about it. Basically, as a child, I didn't feel good enough for him. I felt like he preferred my other siblings. I didn't think he liked me. He was really hard on me. He never told me he loved me. He never told me he was proud of me. And I was just like confused as to what this man wanted me to do. So he would show me some love, basically. And it got so hard for me that, our relationship kind of separated. And, in my mind, I always thought that we would have a relationship when I was older, because he's a carpenter. I thought once I get my house, he'll be able to come round and help me out and do that kind of thing. But then suddenly that was taken away, right? And, my dad had an accident and on his motorcycle and died. And it was right then and there at that point when that happened that I thought, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm just going through the motions, and it kind of really woke me up as to, like, wow, like, your life can be taken within a flash. We live like we're going to live forever, don't we?
Yeah.
Right. And it can be, it could be taken away in a flash. Right. And I thought, right, well, I'm going to start, I'm going to make something of my life. I'm going to make my dad proud. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And that's why I became a business owner, an entrepreneur, and, became a personal trainer, and because I thought I wanted to build something, that made a mark on the universe, if that makes sense. So that is why throughout my 20s, I just worked like 16, 18-hour days every single day. My vision was to have my own fitness studio running on its own with a team, making good money so I could, go on holiday and it can work for me. That was the dream, right? From about 21, 22 years old. And, I did, personal training. I did boot camps. I did everything that I thought was going to work, and it didn't work. I had lots of ups and downs, got myself into debt, got taken to small claims court by gyms, believe me, I've been there, I've done it, right? It was really tough. It got to a point where it was so tough that I actually quit being a PT and actually went back into employment for about 9 months because I was in debt. I was struggling. I was burnt out. I'd been taken to small claims court as well. I was 7 weeks behind on my rent. And I thought, well, I've just got to go and get a job. And I'll be honest, I gave up on the dream of being a business owner. But I actually got a job at LA Fitness in Colchester in Essex. And I became like a sales advisor, like a sales membership guy, right? And luckily for me, I had a really great sales manager. And that is when I fell in love with sales. Sales has been a massive part of my journey. And I started to understand why my business has failed. It's because I had no real sales process. I didn't understand sales really. I was just hoping people would buy from me. And it really opened to my eyes on what it takes to have a successful business, right? So I got myself back to zero in my account, and I thought, right, I'm going to give it another crack, right? I'm going to give it another crack. And my mum was like, oh, Liam, please don't do it again. Like, just have a normal job. Just stay safe, as mum do, right? Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm going to give it another go. She really didn't want me to do it, but I was like, oh, I'm not, at that age, you just don't listen, do you? You're like, I'm just going to do what I want to do, right? So that is when I started my small group training. And I obviously took what I learned from LA Fitness with my sales, took that into the business, started working really well. It started to grow very rapidly. I then had enough money to then go and open up my fitness studio. And I opened up in 2013, like September 2013. Nice. And it was like one of the proudest moments of my life, to go from rock bottom, in debt, taken to small claims court like a couple of years prior, to then open up the doors to my own fitness studio. Like it was, I still think about it now, and there's a massive achievement of mine because there's no loans, everything paid out of my own back pocket. Nice. And I built it from absolute scratch, and I grew that over the next kind of year or so. Built out a team, had 3 trainers, 4 trainers work under me, sales people, full-time PA, someone running my Facebook ads. I really built out a really powerful team. I took on a business mentor, which really helped me. And, it was only 1,000 square feet, the studio, but really? Yes. Yeah. And, but in 2014, we grossed just under £200,000. Nice. Right? Which, we were doing like 20, 30K months, some months, right? And out of 1,000 square feet, I think that's a great effort, right? And this is the kind of money that I was earning, and what we were doing. And I got a new apartment, I got a new car, I was going on really great holidays, and like people would want to come and spend time at my flat and drink and do all that kind of stuff. And I was a bit kind of Jack the Lad, like man about town kind of character. Everyone wanted to like socialize together, and I would do all that kind of stuff. But behind closed doors, and when I was on my own, I still felt like there's something missing in my life. I wasn't happy. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I wasn't happy. Like I was like, always had this feeling like I needed more, and I was chasing more and had to be more and do more, and something was not quite fitting for me. And I felt like I had this hole, and I was trying to fill it up with money and success, and I was in that mindset where I thought I just need to make more money and then I'll get there eventually. Right. And in my head, I was like, I need to get to 50,000 a month. Right. So it's silly looking back now, but that's how I was feeling right then. So I went to a business mastermind in Thailand, and this is in December 2014, just come off the back of our biggest month in December, doing 29,500. And I was like, I want to learn how to get to 50. Right. So I went to this mastermind in Thailand, and I went to learn this so I could be happy. That's why I went. I didn't know that in myself, but that's why I was going. And basically, Thailand, very spiritual place. I really enjoyed it. We done meditation. Like, I wasn't into meditation, but we started doing meditation. And one of the questions we got asked in this meditation was, what's your biggest fear? Right. And at first, my ego got in the way. I'm not scared of anything. I'm not fearful, like blah, 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 blah. Right. So, but they were like, no, what? Just sit with it. Just sit with it. Right. And I was like, okay. So I went inside, and what came up for me was, I don't know if my dad was proud of me or loved me. Right. That's what came up for me. That was my biggest fear. And I wrote that down on a bit of paper. And as soon as I wrote that down on a bit of paper, I felt emotions coming up for me. I felt tears coming to my eyes. And this is 7 years after my dad died. I thought I'd dealt with it. I thought I'd cleared it. I thought it wasn't a problem anymore. Right. Yeah. But all this emotion was coming up, and I was struggling. I was the master of keeping emotions down and covering them up. Right. I was very good at that, but I was struggling to hold that. And like, there was tears. I hadn't cried since my dad's funeral, and like these tears are like trying to come out, and I'm like trying to hold them in, and I'm like, wow. Right. And, then I asked the guy who was running the mastermind, I said, like, what do I do? How do I deal with this? And he was actually a member of Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, which is like his top program, Tony's top program. Right. And he said, I think you should go and do that. Right. And I didn't really know who Tony was, to be honest. Right. I've seen a few YouTube videos, but it's not like I really knew who he was. But, the investment to do this year-long program with Tony was like $65,000. Right. And I was like, whoa, like that's really out of my comfort zone, basically. Like, it's like really expensive. But basically the guy who ran the mastermind is like, well, can you put a deposit down and then do installments, like I think it was like £15,000 and then $3,500 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that would be a massive stretch, but I think I could probably do it. So I thought, well, I'm going to do it. Right. I'm going to, after some peer pressure from the other people at the mastermind, I did it. And I found myself in Canada a few months later for the first trip on this Tony Robbins Platinum Partnership. And, I went there to kind of sort this issue out. And very luckily, I got introduced to a man called Anil Gupta. Now, Anil Gupta is best-selling author of Immediate Happiness. I didn't know who he was, right? And as soon as I met him and he looked me in the eye and I shook his hand, I felt like he was going to help me. I could just, when you can just have a connection with someone, it just felt like he said to me, Liam, I know you're in pain and I'm going to help you, right? And it was just like, who is this guy, right? And we was in Canada, so we was in Whistler, so we were skiing and doing really cool stuff like that. Yes. And I spent some time on the slopes with him, and I started telling him a little bit about my dad and what I was going through. And he was like, Liam, don't worry, we'll sort that out. 15-minute conversation later on, right? And I was like, what? Right? I said, what are you talking about, right? Because I'd invested like $65,000 in this program with Tony Robbins, thinking it's going to take me 12 months to sort this out. So I was laughing / a bit annoyed in a way, because he's telling me it's going to take 15-minute conversation, right? And I'm like, no, because in my head I thought I was really like effed up, right? I was really like, this is going to take some time, no one understands me, blah blah, right? As we all do, right? So he was like, no, honestly, 15 minutes, we'll have it sorted. Right. And I was like,
how did he sort it then? What was the solution?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So later on that afternoon, after skiing, we came down, we went like into this kind of outdoor spa place, and we were sitting in this like sauna, like hot tub thing. Right. And he was there, me and him, just me and him. And he goes, right, so Liam, tell me about your dad. What's going on? Right. So I started going, oh, do you know what? Like, you know, I lost my dad when I was 21 and, he died in a motorcycle accident and I didn't get to see him. I didn't get to speak to him. We didn't have a good relationship and, I had a car. I could have gone around his house and, spent time with him and I chose not to. And, I was saying all these things. Okay. And he stopped me in mid-sentence and he was like, stop, Liam, stop. And he looked at me square in the eyes, and he said, Liam, when are you going to forgive yourself and forgive your dad? Right. And I just exploded with emotion, like absolutely erupted with tears and snot and everything you can imagine. Like this 7 years of guilt, shame, resentment just came pouring out of me. Right. And what I realized is that whole business was me trying to prove to my dad that I was a lovable son.
That you were worth it. There was something
that I was worth it. That I was worthy. That, I wanted to prove to him that, I was good enough for him. Right. And all that work, all that struggle, all that pain, all that sacrifice was just for that. Right. Don't get me wrong. It got me success and money, but it came at a massive cost, a massive cost to me, massive cost to I couldn't hold a relationship down at all. Right. Every woman that I got in a relationship with, they just had enough of me by 6 months because I just couldn't show them any attention or love because I was so shut down. Right. And so hell bent on proving to the world that, I'm this great person, right. And mainly for my dad. And there's another thing that Anil Gupta said to me that really changed my life. And he said, Liam, I want you to imagine that you've got an 8-year-old son and he's sitting in front of you right now. And I said, okay. He goes, what do you want for that son? And I said, I want him to be happy. Right. And Anil Gupta said, that's all your dad wants for you, to be happy. And he said, and would you love, if you had a son sitting in front of you right now, would you love him unconditionally no matter what? And I said, of course I would. Right. And he goes, your dad feels exactly the same. Just absolutely reframed everything in my mind. And I realized that I didn't have to be anyone for my dad. And of course he loved me regardless because I was his son. Right. You love your son unconditionally because he is your son. And there's no other qualifications that you need in order to be worthy. Right. And it just absolutely changed my life. And I'll be honest, it was like, without sounding too corny, it was like being reborn. Like all this energy got lifted off me, all this weight. And it's like my life went from black and white to Technicolor. Right. It's just like everything changed. I changed. I wasn't shut down anymore. I had a smile on my face. People wanted to come and talk to me. I wanted to go and talk to them. I was more open. I was completely different within 15 minutes. It was just crazy. So crazy. And it was then that, I became aware of how important dealing with your inner emotions and feelings is so important, especially as a man.
Yeah, for sure.
And because, we all know as men, a lot of us get told as children to shut our feelings down. Don't cry, don't be a girl, man up, blah, blah. These are all things that say, don't show your emotions, they're wrong. Right. And we get taught that as men, don't we, as we grow up, especially in Western society. And, because my dad was very shut down, emotionally, and he couldn't express himself in a healthy way, right? Because my dad was either super fun or super angry, right? Nothing in between, right? And, when he used to come home from work, I used to be like, oh, how's dad today, right? We're going to get fun dad or we're going to get angry dad, right? And, like I needed that as a child from him, but I never got it. Right. So I didn't know. Right. But of course now I do. My dad's way of showing love was practical things like what we'd call acts of service. So, he would do things for you, like help you with your bike, or, take you to football training. That's the way that my dad used to show love. Right. But it just wasn't the way that I received it.
Yeah.
So,
You weren't thinking on the same lines and the same definitions.
Yeah. There's a thing, like, just quickly, there's a thing called 5 love languages, which is very, very powerful. There's 5 different languages as human beings that we receive and we give. And you can take a test to find out which love language you are, right? If you just search 5 love languages, you'll find it on the internet somewhere. Mm-hmm. So after that happened and I got that massive breakthrough, I decided that I didn't want my business anymore, even though I was making a load of money and it was very successful. Within a few months, I'd sold it. I got rid of it. I didn't want it anymore because that whole business was built on pain and guilt and shame and anger and resentment. And I didn't want it anymore. I'd changed, I'd moved on. So I just went and sold it. Right. Okay. People like say to me, "Oh, it was making loads of money. Why did you do that?" Like I said, it's not about the money. It's not about the money, right? It's about me and what I wanted, what I felt right at the time. And that's what felt right. So I went and sold it. I had a bit of money in the bank. So I decided to take a year off. And what I did was go traveling around the world and speaking this message of forgiveness. So I spoke at many different events and I told the story that I've just told you. Right. And what I then was doing was then taking people through a forgiveness meditation to allow them to forgive themselves and other people as well. It was a combination because Anil took me through some affirmations and then there was something else that I learned, and I created this meditation which has helped many, 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 many people. And I actually done it recently on the weekend to 7 guys. And there wasn't a dry face in the room. Let's put it that way, right? And it's something that I've done, and it's on YouTube. So yeah, your listeners can get a link if they want to go through that forgiveness exercise if they're related to what I've been saying.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show link so people can check it out as well at the end. That'd be really good.
All right, cool. So I did that for a while. So I did that for a year, and then I felt like, because it was a gift given to me, I gave back for a year and helped as many people as I could with forgiveness. And then I started coaching fitness studio owners in the UK and doing a combination of both like the inner work and the business at the same time. And I got very powerful results by doing that. It wasn't just about like business strategy. I was like working on them as business owners to be better people, be better men. And then they could execute the strategy a lot more effectively, which then got an amazing result. Right. So I did that. I did that up until probably like a month or 2 ago. Right. And did that for a couple of years, went well. But then as time went on, I felt like I was struggling to connect with the fitness industry. I felt like I'd moved on a bit. Like I wanted to go and impact maybe slightly at a different level, higher level. And then the opportunity came around to come and work as the program director for The Powerful Man, which is a company based in the UK, founded by a guy called Tim Matthews. And this is a program that I'd been through myself, and obviously he knew my story, my background, my coaching background, and he invited me for a chat to see whether I wanted to come on as kind of like a partner in a way. And it just felt right. So it's just one of those things that, again, felt right. So I stopped that other business, and I've recently come on full time with The Powerful Man, and basically it helps men in that position that I was in, when I was just hustling, grinding, sacrificing, trying to be successful, make loads of money, trying to fulfill something that couldn't be filled by that, but I thought it could. And you get to a point where you're pulling your hair out and you're lost. Right. So yeah, so now I'm fully on board helping those type of guys, which feels really, really great.
Brilliant. So how can people who have now heard, your story and listening to this, or those men you are helping, or those men who are in those positions, learn from your experience? What do they need to do? People who were or who are in your shoes.
Well, the first thing I say is that the first thing that needs to happen is that you need to stop, right? And, you can't keep trying to do the same thing expecting a different result. If you're one of these guys who thinks that once I get there, then I'm going to be happy, right? Or girls, okay? Then it's probably not going to happen, because what we tend to do is, like, what I used to do is I'm like, okay, so once I get to 10 grand a month, then I'll be happy, right? I get to 10 grand. It feels okay for about 5 minutes, and I go, right, let's put it up to 20K. Then it'll feel better, right? And you're constantly moving the goalposts. You're never at a point where you feel kind of like okay with where you're at, because you're constantly pushing, right? So the first thing I would say is just stop, right? Just stop for a second, right? And have a look at your current results and what you're doing, and is it getting you what you want, right? And 9 times out of 10 is obviously not getting you what you want, right? And then I would say, okay, maybe it's time, instead of looking to external things to fulfill you, let's have a look on the inside. Right? So let's start from the inside out. As I always say, life mastery starts from the inside out, right? So, for me, and what I see with many men, it's carrying emotions and not expressing themselves properly, and bottling it up, holding stuff in, and it coming out in anger and other emotions. Not saying anger's bad, anger's not bad, but that's how men feel okay with expressing, but it's not healthy, right? It's not healthy for you, not healthy for other people around you as well, right?
Yeah.
So, is there certain things that you've had locked down that you've not expressed? Is there feelings of guilt, shame, resentment, worry that you've not fully expressed that are making you feel heavy? Because, those are the things that you can choose to deal with that are going to set you free, that is going to give you that peace, that fulfillment, that happiness, that joy that you're looking for, right? It's just that we push it to one side thinking, oh, that doesn't really matter. Yeah. Right? It doesn't really matter, but it absolutely does, because everything affects everything. Right? So yeah, so like, it's hard to kind of like, that's relating to my story. I know everyone's different, but that's definitely a pattern that I see with men in general. It comes down to, they've created like what I call a mask of how they feel they should be and how they think the world wants them to be.
Yeah, especially in business.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And
also,
they've just locked down who they really are. They've pushed that man down, told that man that man's not good enough and I don't like you. So they've created this kind of caricature of themselves to hide behind, right? And to, make people like them, or, whatever it is. Okay. But it's only so long before that mask gets heavy, right? And it's heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier, right? One day it will just get too heavy. And that's when you can choose to really take it off. And there's nothing more liberating than just being yourself, right? But it's very, very difficult, especially in the business world, because, we see all these YouTube videos of like, you must hustle, you must grind, you must prove everyone wrong. What does that say? You must prove everyone wrong. That says, I am not enough as I am right now. And if you're carrying that feeling of I am not enough right now and I will be enough once this happens, you're setting yourself up for failure every day. Yeah. Right? Yeah. We have this saying in The Powerful Man called be, do, have. right? So be the person now, then do the things, and then have what you want. It's just that they do it the other way around. They think have, do, be, right? So once I've got the stuff that I need, right, then I can then do the stuff that I want to do, and then I can be, exactly, right? Right. So that's what we follow in the Powerful Man. It's one of our sayings: be, do, have. Right? Not the other way around. Oh, I need this, this, and this, and then I can be that person. Once I've got the business sorted out, then I'll work on my relationship. Right? It's something that I'm very connected to and love talking about.
Awesome. That's great. And it's like, in people who are trying to get into shape or get healthy as well, same thing. Some people saying the same things. I'll wait until then, or I'll wait until all my ducks are in a row. Same sort of thing. You can't put things which are fundamental down as secondaries and expect to get different results than you're really intending to. So you can really see that with yourself and your journey, but then also the people you're helping now to do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. There's never a perfect time. You're never going to have your ducks lined up, and you got to start right now, not waiting. Okay. It's people, like the amount of people I speak to and the amount of men I speak to who know the big actions, know the big decisions, know the big conversations that they need to have, but they keep putting them off. And then they're moaning about why their life is not how they want it to be. Right. And they're putting off those big levers, big uncomfortable levers. Right. I'll give you a prime example. People moaning about their jobs.
Yeah.
Right.
Classic.
Go and change it then. Right. Go and get a new job. Find something that you're more passionate about. But like, oh, I can't. And, it's just too much effort, or, I've got bills to pay, and things like that. Like, I meet a lot of
start coming out.
I meet a lot of men who are in corporate jobs but want to have their own business. They're so locked in the fear, right? But they will continue to moan about where they are. Well, I'm like, well, go and change it then.
Yeah.
Right. Go and start that business. Do something.
Yeah.
Right. It's not going to happen on its own. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, good. That's fine. I agree with you. It's so much, and it's, as you say, it's more fear holding people back, and judgments and other people's judgments impacting upon themselves. But in reality, as you say, because things are somewhat temporary, what's the point in hanging on to those things, because they don't serve you or others, or if you have a mission or a vision, they don't serve that either. So with that in mind, Liam, what do you recommend, either for yourself that you actually already do, or strategies for people and other men like yourselves, or people who were in that position, that they do to make changes in their life? So simple habits or strategies that they can employ to become better versions of themselves.
That's a great question. The thing is, we do get locked in fear. We get locked in our own minds, right? We all heard that, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. That's what we do. We take something, we create it big in our head, and then it kind of stifles us, right? I'll be honest, this is how I live my life right now, right? I continue to tell myself that one day I'm going to die, right? I'm going to die. And this worry, this fear that I have is not going to matter, right? At all, right? Even a month from now, it's probably not going to matter.
Yeah.
Right. So you might as well just go for it, because like I said to you earlier, like, we live as if we're going to live forever, right? One day we're going to be old. We're going to be 70, 80, maybe even 90 if we're lucky, right? And I don't want to look back on my life thinking, I wish I'd done that, or I wish I'd made that decision, right? I'll be honest with you, I recently came out of a relationship, right? And I'd been putting it off a long time. And I was locked in a lot of fear, around coming out of that relationship for a number of reasons, which I won't go into, but they were very good, valid reasons, right? And me coming out of this relationship from the outside world has made me look very bad, right? Like a bad person, right? Because I won't go into it, right? Because I'm not in the position to do that. So, but there was a lot of attached to it. But I knew in my heart that I would be happier, that the other person would be happier, and that although it had consequences, I knew it was the right thing to do, right? And you know, I can remember like just before I did it, I was like, I don't want to get to 60 in this relationship and look back thinking I've been in a relationship that I've not really wanted to be in my whole life. I couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do it. So I made the decision, right? This is about a month ago now, 6 weeks ago. And my life has completely changed. Just through that one action, I'm so much more happier. I'm like the stress has left me. You know, when we're in that limbo land, you know, when you're not really in something, but not really out, right? It just takes so much mental energy, right? And I'm sure people will be able to relate to it. It could be like a job that you hate, right? You're not fully in the job. You're not fully out of the job, and you're just going through the motions every single day. That's what I was doing in my relationship, right? Going through the motions and thinking it would get better, right? And it wasn't going to get better, right? You know, I did all the work. I did what I could. I felt like to make it better, but it just wasn't clicking. Foundationally, there was something missing for me. So I thought, well, I can't be all in, so I've got to be all out.
Yeah.
Right. So I got out, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And my life, because I made that decision, things have opened up for me. You know, I found that job with the powerful man. I'm now living on a farm, which has always been my dream to live on a farm. Now I'm living on a farm, right? You know, it just happened like without really like looking for it, right? And, you know, I've met amazing new people, and my life's in a much better position just because I made that big decision that I was putting off for a long time, right? So, you know, what I say is just like, it's going to be scary. It's going to be uncomfortable, right? You can't get rid of those things, right? People might chat crap about you, about your decisions, right? But if you can't put your own happiness first, who's going to?
No one else.
Right? Yeah. And this is what I said, like, there's no real tools. There's no real like strategy to get through this, but you just got to do it. You just got to do, like, if it feels right to you to make a decision, then do it. Like, I always try to go from my gut, what feels right, don't get stuck in my head too much. Go with my heart, go with my gut, what feels good, right? And make my decisions based from there, right? And it served me very, very well. It's just about trusting yourself for me. Really trusting yourself at a very core level. To know that what is best for you, you know what's best for you, no one else. So don't let anyone else tell you what's best for you. You know it. So just take action from that place. Yeah. That's probably my best advice.
Awesome. No, I would agree. There's no script. You know, it's one of those things that you have to really try and figure yourself out, your circumstances, your situation, your mind, and then make the best decision from there, knowing what you want, but also what you think and feel that is best for you as well.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good. And I'm just conscious of time, Liam, but before we wrap up, is there anything else or any final message you want to share with everyone? We've talked a lot about forgiveness and, you know, how you can use that to better your life and sort of, you know, make a big turnaround. But is there anything closing you want to add or cement in that?
Yeah, I'd probably say that I spoke about this a lot, but, you know, every single person to listen to this podcast, you know, you are all powerful, right? You all have a gift and a light, you know, but it's just through life that we allow layers to go onto this light, which makes it dimmer, right? And once you go inside yourself, and start removing these layers and allowing yourself to express your emotions, your feelings, who you really are, that light starts to get brighter again, right? And when you are really comfortable with who you are and you really own that is true power, right? For me, that is true power. You see, when a certain person walks into a room, you can feel their energy, right? And you're like, who's this guy? Who is this girl? Like, she's got this aura about them. Like, wow, right? I guarantee it's because they own who they are, right? They own who they are and they're comfortable with it, right? I meet so many people who are trying to be other people. Like, they look at celebrities or they look at YouTube videos and, they're looking at certain business owners and they're like, I need to be like this, right? I need to be more courageous and angry and whatever it is, right? Authoritative, alpha, right? I need to be this. I guarantee it's not going to work, right? People see through that if you're not being you, right? So learn to be comfortable with yourself and, just express how you're feeling on a daily basis, whether it's to a friend, whether it's to in your journal, or, just get used to really expressing yourself at a high level, and then you'll become more and more comfortable. So yeah, that's probably my best advice and something that I'd finish off on.
I think it's a great closing note, Liam. And I completely agree with you. Be yourself, and as cliche as it sounds, stop emulating others for the sake of emulation. So good. And Liam, before we wrap up, are there any other resources or websites, videos, books, or workshops, or things like that you'd recommend to anyone listening today?
Yeah, there is a couple of books that I would recommend. Number one, Immediate Happiness by Neil Gupta. It's a great book. It's very straight to the point, very black and white, keeps it very simple. He's a man that changed my life, so I think I better plug his book. It's very good though. Second one is a book that really, really helped me, is a book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And it kind of discusses the kind of stuff that we've been talking about on the podcast today. And you can actually download that for free if you on like a PDF. If you search it, You Can Heal Your Life, Louise Hay PDF, you'll find it. There are probably two resources that I would provide. Any men that have related to my story, I would check out thepowerfulman.com, which is a company that I work for right now, and you can see what we do on there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
Perfect. Liam, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your story, and obviously spending your time with us. But your wisdom and experience, especially in the topic of forgiveness, is very valuable. So thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And look forward to catching up soon.
Definitely. I'm sure we can do it again in the future. Thank you. And I'm Aidan Lee, and this is the FitRoots podcast. Thank you for helping us on our mission to build modern warriors.